All right. I got to call Gloria Needham. I wrote her name down wrong. I wrote it down as Gloria Needem. I wasn't sure how it was spelled. It's Needham. And when she called me, she said she had until 5 o'clock. The problem is that I didn't even get the message until almost 7 o'clock, is when my phone let me know. Um, so then yesterday during the morning, I was kind of sort of waiting on the cops to hopefully, yeah, fuck that. So today, I guess I gotta give her a call. I got a lot of anxiety about this, but I'm doing it anyway. I've also been arguing with idiots. Not a smart thing to do, right? The problem is, those idiots, in large numbers and large groups, get people killed. They need educated. Well, that's a 4 out of 7. I don't have fat fingers. It's just odd to type on here. All right.
Good afternoon, this is Gloria.
Hello, Gloria. This is Sean Schwartz.
Hi, Sean.
I got my phone all the way up, but I'm stuck outside, so with traffic and other ambient noise, it's kind of difficult to hear you.
Okay. Well, I was just calling you because the Hood River County Dispatch Center called me to see if I could help you connect with like resources in the community, I believe.
Actually, I need a victim's rights advocate. I've needed one for about 6 years, almost 7 years now.
Do you have a diagnosis? Do you receive social security disability?
Yes, ma'am. I've been diagnosed with autism and Tourette syndrome, post traumatic stress disorder, and I also have physical disabilities as well.
Okay. Well, there are advocates that can be accessed through. Um, I'm trying to remember the most correct word. I think it's um, adult, adult, adult people. Um, I can't remember. I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't remember the most correct word for it. Adult protective services is the word that I was looking for.
I've done that. The problem is, without an advocate, they don't provide advocacy. That's the problem with me being victimized for the last 6 years. Is that being a homeless and disabled man, they play on stereotypes. They claim that I'm schizophrenic and that I am, what's the other one, on drugs. And Hood River Police Department, as well as Sheriff's Department, were telling homeless people out here that I was doing drugs with a man in my vehicle and that I was schizophrenic. Meanwhile, I'm not schizophrenic and I wasn't doing drugs with a man in my vehicle. There was no room for it. These tactics are used nationwide. Since Natalie Bollinger was shot in the head, I've been from one end of the country to the other. I've had to depend on drug dealers and drug addicts. I've recorded everything, like literally everything that I could possibly record, I have recorded. I have the evidence that backs up what I've been saying. The problem is that without a victim's rights advocate, I just continue to get victimized. They keep painting me out to be some sort of a horrible monster, gaslighting me, threatening to kill me and my family, and I have documentation of all of this. It's a matter of getting it looked at and getting it heard. I mean, I was repeatedly, when I was trying to turn in the officers who wouldn't do their job and took part in multiple assaults against me, I was repeatedly forced to go to those officers to try and turn in the crimes of their friends, and that's not okay. I don't know if they told you anything about the Natalie Bollinger situation, but I highly recommend looking it up. What I've been through is 6 years of people doing exactly what you're doing and telling me I need to call somebody else. Everybody blows me off like that until there's somebody there in person. And that's not saying you're doing it intentionally or anything like that. That's not trying to say you're an evil person or anything like that. It's the fact that people's assumptions versus the reality of the situation aren't the same. And I've been trying to get people to coordinate. Instead, what I get is the Center for Living people telling me that it's the police's job, the police telling me it's the Center for Living's job, and going back and forth between that for the last 3 weeks here. And they're not coordinating with each other. I'm sick of making calls and getting the runaround still. I'm tired of the abuse. I'm tired of moving. I can't take care of myself. And I mean that literally. And rather than actually assist me in stopping the abuse and stopping the violence, I've got to deal with people using my disabilities as an excuse to look the other way. And I understand that the term mentally ill is used basically by courts of law to pretend that we're all violent schizophrenics. But the fact is that that's not okay. Mental illness is not a diagnosis. The DSM 5 has over 500 different diagnoses in it, and it's not like every single one of those is schizophrenia. Schizophrenia type 1 through type 509 or whatever. It's not. When you have PTSD from abuse and they're using PTSD as an excuse to not listen to the abuse you're going through, it's horrible. Now, without somebody actually sitting down with me who has my best interest at heart, who actually cares to do the right thing, nothing happens. And I try to coordinate it and set it up to show them in person, but law enforcement just wants to argue. I keep getting told that the things that people are doing to me are not illegal, but if I do them, they're illegal. That's entrapment. The fact that I have to go in and talk to these officers every single time by myself, that is not only a conflict of interest, but a safety risk. I've got recordings repeatedly of officers refusing to take a report about crimes against me, including repeated assaults and thefts of evidence. And literally, when I tried to turn in those officers, I was sent to literally the officer I was trying to turn in. And this is nationwide, and the victimization has not stopped, and it's not going to stop. Not unless I'm allowed to show the evidence and actually defend myself. I can't just keep on moving from place to place. It's expensive. I'm autistic. This is the worst possible thing you could put me through. You know?
Well, just in listening to your conversation, I think that I may not be the best person to speak with because all of the different, agencies and, I'm where I work, I guess I'm part of law enforcement. The district attorney's office is in our court. So it sounds like you've already gone through all of them.
I've had to go through all of them alone. That's the problem, is that when you have to do it alone, you get blown off by everyone. With you working with law enforcement, like, basically it's not a conflict of interest because you're a victim's rights advocate, and I am a victim at this point of the sheriff's department, or not the sheriff's department, but the police department here. But with everybody saying that it's not their job and everybody saying they're not the right person for it, well, there's all these agencies that are getting paid for exactly that, and they're not doing so. I can't just keep taking abuse because different agencies are getting paid tax dollars for things that they're not doing. For the police, they need to explain to, the general public that this is not their job at this point. Meanwhile, the things that they're telling me are not their job, I get to see on the news all the time that it literally is their job. So how is it their job in that situation, but not their job when it comes to me?
That I don't know because I know the general public, a big part of it is because of the media, really wants to define what everybody else's job is and what they should and shouldn't be doing. But it's a lot more complicated than what is out there, what is perceived to be,
You're right,
someone.
and I've been showing that for 6 years. But it's not just the media, it's also the fact that law enforcement preys on the homeless and preys on the disabled everywhere. It's because, just like anyone else, they know who they can and cannot get away with victimizing. Now, as a homeless person, I
Do you
got to
have
see
someone
people
that's your guardian? Like,
do what?
do you have a guardian? Do you get your Social Security benefits directly to you, or is there someone else that's
It
like your
goes to me.
guardian?
I've been trying to get a guardian since I turned 18. I'm eligible for a guardian, I just don't have one. And I keep getting told by all these other agencies that I don't want to get a government guardian because they won't act in my best interest. And from what I've seen, that's true. But yes, I should have a guardian, and I don't have one.
That's um, that's a choice sometimes, and for some people, and for others, it's not a choice. I don't
It's
know if
not a
you.
choice for me. I don't choose to not have a guardian, but without one, I have to take this abuse everywhere I go.
And then the other resource is going to be, a family member, because no
And
one.
see, that's the thing is you're going to tell me a bunch of stuff I've already tried, and that's why I'm trying to get someone to actually look at it. People aren't making suggestions that are new to me. These are all things that I've tried. Like when people tell me, "You did you try talking to law enforcement?" I've got over 100 calls between myself and law enforcement recorded on my YouTube channel. My family doesn't care. They're drug dealers and child molesters, and the ones that ain't are completely antisocial because the rest of the family is drug dealers and child molesters. I was told to go to my friends, but my friends blew me off and didn't care. And after your name is slandered the way that mine was, you don't get a chance to defend yourself. And that's one of the things about slandering somebody who's disabled is that they're literally trying to pretend that I'm schizophrenic and delusional, and I've got documentation from my own therapist and my own doctors that shows otherwise. When Natalie Bollinger was shot in the head, cops had not done their jobs. And then after she was dead, they wanted to pull the same stuff that the Hood River Police Department wanted to do. The whole he's schizophrenic and he's on drugs, going out of their way to discredit a man that all I did was give that guy a cigarette and give him a jacket so he wouldn't freeze to death. That's a far cry from doing drugs with somebody in my vehicle and being schizophrenic.
Is this your hometown? Is this where your family's from? Hood River?
No, ma'am, my mom was born in Portland, but she lives in Idaho. My little brother lives in Idaho. My little sister lives in Nebraska. My older brother lives in Boulder, Colorado, and my dad lives in Tacoma, Washington. I am not in contact with any of them.
So what brought you to Hood River?
Fleeing abuse.
From them?
No, ma'am, my family doesn't give two shits about me. I'm fleeing abuse from the predators that have been after me since Natalie Bollinger was killed. Namely, the Boulder Police Department, the Broomfield Police Department, the Dual County Sheriff's Department, and several other agencies. That's the thing. When you try to turn in a bad cop, every cop is on their side. Every cop assumes that because you're homeless, you don't matter, and that cop must be right. They won't look at evidence. None of them. I tried going to all of the different places that I was supposed to go through in multiple states. The fact that this has like become a cult following, for people who are it's mostly like stay-at-home housewives that are addicted to drugs or alcohol that this is their entertainment, and it's disgusting because it's not just entertainment to them. It's like live action entertainment. They get to lie and harass and threaten and basically destroy innocent people's lives, and the cops refuse to do anything about it. Then I'm told I have to do all this stuff over the internet. Well, I don't know how to do any of it over the internet, or I wouldn't be asking for help. If I have to turn it in person, the way the cops talk to me when it's just me versus the way they talk to me when there's somebody there with me are miles apart. Like, as a victim, the last thing that you need from a police officer is them grilling you like you're a bad person for trying to turn in your predators. And then there's the conflict of interest of me having to turn in my predators in law enforcement literally to themselves. I was forced to turn in Sheriff Scott DaCosta to Sheriff Scott DaCosta because the agencies that were supposed to do it lied and said it's not their job. It is their job. And that's the point, is that law enforcement has repeatedly lied to me about what their job is. And for me to have to turn in Scott DaCosta to Scott DaCosta, or to have to turn in Officer Schneider to Officer Schneider, or for me to have to turn in Officer Woods, or sorry, State Trooper Woods to State Trooper Woods, Or for me to make these phone calls, they call me and tell me to call them back, and I call them back, and the number they give me is a generalized number, and then they ignore me for 3 months, and then they say, "You never called us back." I'm sick of it. I have it recorded that I've made these phone calls, that I've made these efforts. I have recorded over and over again that I am being abused because law enforcement didn't want to do their jobs, and there is no advocacy for disabled people. Not unless you have family, like you were saying, family, family, family. Don't you have any friends? Don't you have any family? No, I don't. They're all drug dealers. When you have Tourette syndrome and you're autistic, most people just assume that you're on drugs anyway. So the only people that actually allow you to be a part of their society are drug addicts and friggin' alcoholics. And then people say, "Oh, well, you should get some better friends." Well, you know what? That'd be nice. It'd be nice if perfect people would accept me as a human being. But that's not the way it is. And the socioeconomic issues that I'm dealing with, these people want to pretend that they don't exist because I'm a white male. So magically, I'm earning $5,000 per year more than the average woman, and cops would never in a million years physically assault me. Meanwhile, because nobody cares, the cops have repeatedly assaulted me. They've repeatedly pressed false charges against me. Dual County Sheriff's Department alone, on 11 different occasions, either pressed false charges against me that they had to drop, or they sent me to a nuthatch and lied to the nuthatch, claiming that I was either bipolar or schizophrenic. The fact that I'm here and the officers here are pulling the same stuff, that's not acceptable. And I can't just repeatedly be forced to move on. I have to live on $800 a month. That's less than a quarter of what women make on average. I get told that I owe women all this, that, and the other because they make on average $44,000 a year. I make barely $10,000 a year. $10,000 may sound like a lot, but you can't afford to get first month's and last month's rent off of that. And then the fact that when you're disabled, anybody can take advantage of you, give you empty promises, but once you've invested that money in their empty promises and they dip out, they've committed a crime, but they're allowed to get away with it because law enforcement doesn't want to do their job unless I have a friend or family member there and present, and I don't have one. That's why I'm told to get an advocate. But then I call the advocacy places and they tell me that I need my friends or family to do that. My friends or family tell me it's the government's job. Government tells me it's my family's job. My family, all these other people tell me that I got to do it myself. Meanwhile, I can't. My predators worked together and coordinated together to threaten, harass, and intimidate, and even assault many of the people who tried to help me. And I'm trying to show this, but I've got to deal with the media, I've got to deal with the police, and I've got to deal with the general public that hates me. So sending me to 400 places to call doesn't work. I need these places to actually talk to each other. I need them to actually coordinate instead of telling me that what I heard must have been wrong because this is this place's or this is that place's job to do it. It's not my fault that those agencies absolutely have refused in Hood River for 3 weeks. These agencies have refused to explain that to each other, but they can talk about how they have been in contact. If they have been in contact, maybe they should share that information with each other.
I think in a perfect world that would be what any of us would like to do. But unfortunately, we don't live, in that kind of a perfect world.
I know we don't live in a perfect world, but we live in a world where we do have a system of checks and balances that are not being observed. See, most of the things, all right, all the things I'm trying to turn in that have been done to me, they're all against the law, but nobody cares. If nobody cares about you, nobody cares enough to look, and everybody tells you it's not their job, the abuse continues. If a little girl is at her dad's house and she's being raped every day, and she's trying to tell people that she's being raped, and they're not doing anything about it, and she goes to the police, and she goes to her teachers, and she goes to her friends, and they treat her the way that I've been treated, Well, she's stuck in that abusive environment. What happens when that little girl tries to move out? Well, now she's a runaway and she's getting locked up. What happens when she's ignored to the point that she starts cutting on herself? Well, now she's suicidal and she's discredited for life. And anybody can victimize her from then on in. Anybody can rape her. Anyone can beat her because she's got the mentally ill tag. And I'm sick of it. I know we don't live in a perfect world, but that's a horrible excuse for not doing the right thing.
What I was saying is that in the ideal world, that's what all of us want. And I'm not sure what you want and your expectations of me and my program and what law enforcement and we talk a lot about all of the things that we don't do. I'd like to know what you are willing to do to get yourself in a situation where you have guardians.
See, that's the thing is that I'm trying to show what I've already done and why it hasn't worked, and why people keep telling me to jump through hoops that don't work. I'm trying to show the actual evidence. I'm trying to meet with someone in person and show them the abuse that I've gone through.
And who has refused to meet with you?
Well, that's the thing, ma'am, is that the treatment that I get from law enforcement and from these other places is blown off. It's not that they refuse to meet with me, it's that they keep going out of their way to try to meet with me solo or to change the rules or to change the laws. And I can't handle this. This is 6 years. It's not just Hood River, ma'am. Natalie Bollinger was shot in December of 2017. I've been from one end of the country and back already twice. This is the FBI's job to do something about it, but I need someone to help me with that. My disabilities prevent me from doing it for myself, and having to fill out a bunch of paperwork for places that say after I've already filled out that paperwork that it's not their job, that's screwed up. There's also the fact that $800 a month, if I get everything transferred to here in Hood River, I won't have the money to have everything transferred. I can't afford my car insurance. My car is sitting there at the park and ride waiting for my disability check to show up on the first. I hope it doesn't get towed because it's full of evidence of abuse nationwide. But someone needs to take it seriously. I don't have a family member. I don't have a guardian. That's not my choice. That's not my fault. I'm trying to turn in crimes and I need a victim's advocate to assist me with that. I can't defend myself. I am illegally prevented from doing so.
And the victim assistance program is not an investigatory, uh, you know, process. It's not a job. The work that comes into this office is after everyone has already investigated it, and the district attorney has decided that at least one crime or more has been committed, filed charges, and then I'm tasked with calling the named victim or victims in the case. But we don't actually do an
That's
investigation.
the problem, ma'am, is that I can't get that far. I never get that far. I can't get that far. The cops won't listen to me. They absolutely refuse. I don't have a safe place to go through all of this. I am constantly running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to get help stopping the abuse that I go through everywhere.
I'm sorry that you've got to go through that and that you continue to go back through that, and I guess that you will continue to do that. But I am unfortunately not that person for you. Okay?
So, literally, it's nobody's job to investigate the crimes against me. It's nobody's job to do anything about it. And because they're doing it under the auspices of calling me mentally ill, that magically makes it okay.
I have not said that about you, sir.
Well, you may not be saying that, but that's what you're implying by doing so. I'm trying to turn in abuse. I'm trying to meet with someone in person, and I need somebody there for my safety so that I'm not blown off or treated the way that I've been treated. Obviously, I'm not blaming you for what the police did. I'm not blaming you for what other people have done. I'm simply trying to tell you that I can't just keep on taking this abuse. I don't have the ability to defend myself. And what the media did with Natalie Bollinger and all of these Natalie Bollinger true crime groups that keep popping up, they're all spreading the same slander that I am illegally denied the right to show. I'm being abused because people are slandering my name. Now, it's one thing to exercise your First Amendment rights and to say something that may or may not be true. It's another entirely to say things maliciously with the intent of harming another individual or discrediting them so nobody will hear them. That is gaslighting. It's not just gaslighting, it is illegal for police officers to do this. I am a victim, and I do need someone there to be my rights advocate to prevent these things from happening. It's not my fault that cops won't do their jobs, and as a result, I can't get far enough to even get an advocate. That's not my fault. I can't turn them in because I don't have an advocate. I can't get an advocate unless I can turn them in. But I can't turn them in because they won't let me unless I have an advocate. But I don't have an advocate, so they're just not going to let me. And I could say that 500 different ways, but it's not going to change the fact that I don't have someone there in person for my safety. And law enforcement has showed me time and again that they cannot be trusted. People tell me to trust law enforcement, and then they tell me that it's not illegal for law enforcement to lie about me or lie to me. And meanwhile, their lies have had the, whether it's intentional or not, have resulted in multiple people ending up dead, including Natalie Bollinger, Tibor Hatay, Demetrius Shankling, and this is just starters. When people don't do anything about corruption with police officers, they get to do it again and again and again. One of the officers who assaulted me was Officer Waylon Lolatai. He assaulted me in January of 2018. And he knew he was going to get away with it by calling me mentally ill and pretending I was on drugs. And meanwhile, in none of these places have I actually taken a drug test. And why would they want to? Because I don't do drugs. If they take a drug test, they're going to find out that the only thing they're going to find in my system is potentially marijuana, if that. Meanwhile, even if somebody is on drugs, does that make it okay to abuse them? No, it doesn't. It's still against the law. If somebody is drunk and you rape them, you are still a rapist. Them being drunk is not a valid excuse. If you're drunk and you rape somebody, the fact that you're drunk is not a valid excuse. And many of my predators, the excuse that people make for their horrible actions is, oh, well, they were probably drunk. That doesn't make it okay. Because I don't have a friend or a family member who's actually willing to stand up and help me. Does that make it okay to continue to ignore me and to allow this to happen? All right, did I hang up on accident? All right. Here's the thing, ma'am. The cops are not going to take me seriously. They don't take any homeless person seriously. So I need somebody there so they do take it seriously. Instead of talking over me and telling me stuff that is obviously against the law, telling me that it isn't against the law, I can't defend myself or take care of myself, Gloria.
I am not this person, sir, and I'm very sorry. That's not what you're saying and what you're describing is not the definition of the work that I do and the focus that I have to have, within my boundaries of the branches of my program. And
Let's say somebody beats me to death in a parking lot because of something they saw on the internet.
like you can't go into the hypothetical.
I can go into the hypothetical because it's not hypothetical at this point. There's enough dead people to show that it's not just hypothetical. There are dead people, all right? I'm not talking about some schizophrenic unicorns and rainbows thing. I'm telling you that there are people dead because of the exact things that those officers did 3 weeks ago. Those same exact tactics. Now, the fact that nobody died in that particular situation does not detract from the fact that I am still being victimized over that exact same slander elsewhere. And it did follow me here. Obviously, it is somebody's job to investigate these crimes because there are many people on the news who have been arrested recently and are in prison for committing the crimes that, well, those exact same crimes were committed against me, and I'm told that it's nobody's job to do anything. Well, whose job was it to do something in those situations? It was the police. But those people in specific had the benefit of having family that cared and having a roof over their head. So they didn't have to deal with the bias or the getting blown off like I am. I need to be able to turn in the Hood River Sheriff's or Police Department, and I need to be able to do it safely. And having to turn in Hood River Police Department to Hood River Police Department by myself is not going to have a positive result.
One more thing I'm going to give you is the Oregon State Bar Attorney referral. If you can call the person and ask for an attorney before we put the civil lawsuit against all of the different police departments that you're thinking about, and they don't charge money, um, and you would have a lawsuit with an attorney because all of these things that you're talking about has to be something of a civil lawsuit with all of the different agencies here in Hood River, all of the police departments in Hood River and in Colorado and everywhere else, so that you
All right, one moment, I can't hear you because there's a big truck going by. Ma'am, the problem is that these are criminal acts that have been committed against me. In order for me to get a civil lawyer, which is everybody's idea, I have to have money. I have to be able to actually sit down and settle down somewhere. And I haven't been allowed to do that in 6 years. It would be nice if I could afford a civil attorney. But the thing is that I never get that far. Now I'm going to go grab a pen so I can write this number down. But that's the thing, ma'am. I'm trying to turn in criminal acts that were used to deny me my rights as a human being, deny me the rights to face my accusers or show evidence, deny me the right to defend myself. This is not okay. I am scared to talk to the police for a reason. And now, do you have the ability to text me? Do you have the ability to text me the number? Do what? Hello? Hello? It says you're still connected. Hello? Gloria? I don't know what happened there, so we'll try it again, I guess.
hello, you've reached Gloria, needham at the Hood River County PA's Office of Likely Victim Services. Sorry that I missed your call. Please leave your name, number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I'm available. Usted ha llamado al número de Gloria Needham. Estoy en la oficina del fiscal de asistencia para víctimas. Por favor, déjeme su nombre y su número de teléfono y le llamaré en cuanto sea posible. Gracias. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
All right, Gloria, it's Sean Schwartz. I realized that I was talking to myself, but we were still connected. Um, you just weren't answering, so I don't know if you were just ignoring me or if there was an issue with the phone. But in either event, I had to hang up because I couldn't hear you. Anyway, that number for the lawyer place that you want me to call, I'm willing to call them. I'm not saying no to that, but I do need the number. I also need you to know that people keep suggesting that same stuff over and over and over again because when somebody is called mentally ill, yeah, that doesn't work. They have to have somebody there with them or attorneys don't pick it up. They keep telling me to do things that I am incapable of doing for myself. If I am incapable of doing it, then somebody needs to help me to do those things. I am being victimized because I can't defend myself. None of you guys are getting that. Anyway, please, if you can, message me back the number or call me back and leave a voicemail like you did the first time and give me the number that way. Most of these lawyers' excuses for not helping is that people are liars. That's a funny one, too. What's to stop them from saying this and this and this and this? Well, they can say that, but that only helps me out because if they say that, I've got the evidence that shows that they're lying. Yay! Problem is getting someone to fucking look at it. With the cops here in Hood River pulling the same bullshit as the cops in Colorado, and then they want to tell me it's civil. No, that's preying on the poor. Anytime that you try to pretend that a criminal act is civil, you are preying on the poor and trying to make it a situation where they cannot defend themselves. I do not accept this. I am a human being. I am just as human being or just as much a human being as a black person. I am just as much a human being as a woman. I just don't have the rights of either one. See, while you guys want to complain about how white people are doing this and white people are doing that, you're not talking about white people, not all white people. You're talking about a bunch of rich people and some assholes. Meanwhile, we don't get to blame everything on black people. In Chapel, Nebraska, they blame everything on black people. I am hated there because I stick up for black people. Whew, life is grand, ain't it? Anyway, I don't know why this lady quit communicating. I'm hoping that she'll send me that fucking number, but Jesus fucking Christ. It's nobody's job. It's nobody's job. It's nobody's fucking job.